Welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast, where our job is to help you build visibility, professional credibility, and connection with your ideal client by putting the human at the center of innovative marketing, so you can build and strengthen an engaging, enduring relationship with your ideal clients. I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm honored that you're here with me. If you haven't joined our wonderful marketing transformation community yet, go to innovabiz.co and collect your free gift as well. Do subscribe to the show and also leave a review because it helps others find us. Let's get into today's masterclass on this InnovaBuzz podcast.
What always I find interesting is people say, well, clients, are the lifeblood of your business. Well, that's only partially true, actually. Your client lifetime value is the lifeblood of your business. Okay, so what does that entail? Well, that means that you're serving that client, and that is your value proposition as a business owner is you can serve that client for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. More than a big brand or cold corporation, with very few intimate touch points is going to be able to achieve. So that is your value proposition as a business owner. You can create more lifetime client value quickly than a big brand can.
Welcome back. I hope you've had a fantastic week so far. If you haven't yet listened to my recent conversations with leadership expert Roxanne Kaufman-Elliott and with Jamie Watson, the Chair and Director of the Common Mission Project Australia, then do check them out, but only after you've listened to today's conversation. I'm really excited to have on the InnovaBuzz podcast as my guest today, Jonathan Callinan. He's from the Online Business Accelerator, an Auckland-based marketing company dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and business owners rapidly grow their business through the power of online marketing. He's also founder of Course Commander, an all-inclusive website, landing page, and course builder to save coaches, consultants, authors, and infopreneurs time and remove the typical headaches, tech aches from creating and delivering courses, programs, and memberships. Jonathan is a serial entrepreneur, a marketer, and a big subscription advocate, having generated over 7 figures for both himself and his clients from membership models across various niches, including the natural health and digital marketing spaces. In our conversation today, Jonathan talked to me about intent-based marketing that is heart-centered and focused on customer lifetime value. We talked about the subscription economy and how to provide value with a subscription model. And we talked about the power of community. Without further ado then, let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from Jonathan Callinan. Hi, I'm your host Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm really excited to welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast today, all the way from Auckland in New Zealand, Jonathan Callinan, who is the founder of Course Commander, which is a flexible all-in-one website and landing page and course marketing system that helps you deliver world-class courses, programs, and membership options to your audience. Welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast, Jonathan. It's a real privilege to have you as my guest.
Thanks, Jürgen. It's absolutely awesome to be on, brother, and it's a real privilege and honor. Thank you.
Now, George Bryant, who was our guest on episodes 226 and episode 300, a milestone episode of the InnovaBuzz podcast, he kind of introduced us because I discovered you on his Mind of George podcast, so we'll give a shout out to that. And you said some things there that triggered a few ideas in my mind, so I reached out to you and we connected. So big hello and thank you to George for that.
Yes, thanks, George. Appreciate it, buddy. He's a good connector of people, is George, isn't he?
Yeah. Now, one of the things that you said on that podcast, and when I looked at your profile there, was that you prefer to take an authentic and no fluff approach when it comes to talking about business and about marketing. And I thought, oh, that sounds like my kind of person, and we connected on that. So I'm really looking forward to dig into that some more today. But before we start talking about all things marketing and just learn more about Course Commander, what is it that drives you, Jonathan, and how does that shape what you do today?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Thanks, Jürgen. And I have to say, the answer to that question has changed somewhat over the last 10 years since I've had children, 2 girls now. So a lot of what drives me is impacting others and creating a better way of life, way of living, and living conditions for my daughters. Whereas if you'd asked me that 10 years ago, then it would probably be more about sort of self-centered, but still focused on impacting people, but also, having the ideal lifestyle and not being chained to any people, timeframes or jobs. That was always a big appeal, because I've come from the academic world as a teacher when I was in England, somewhat 20 years ago now. But I've kind of been on that sort of in the system side of things, if you like. And then when you're not in the system and you're a free-spirited entrepreneur, as I like to label it, you really kind of, you play by your own rules, you're your own boss. And with that, you make the decision. You're responsible for the reality that you're shaping and, what you want to leave behind. So it's a great question, and it's always changing. That's what I can say about my answer. But for now, it's impacting as many small coaching service-based businesses as possible, helping them make their life more convenient in the digital space, helping them save money, a bit of time, but also leveraging their time so that they can live life on their terms as well. Because as you and I both know, there's a lot of small businesses out there that are effectively just stressed out employees in their own business. And I know that's not why they got into business.
Yeah, that's certainly a big problem that most people don't realize when they go into business, that there's a real risk that you just become your own boss, and it turns out that you're actually the worst boss there is, and you think you've had some really bad bosses, but right until you are your own boss and you have a job.
Yeah, it's a bit like, oh, that mountain looks nice to climb, and then you get to the top of the mountain, you think, what the heck have I just done? What am I doing up here? Yeah, no, it's absolutely true.
Yeah. So how old are the girls now?
8 and 11. Very cheeky. The 11-year-old's too mature for her boots, but they're good. They're good company. They certainly keep you on your toes. And like I say, I think from a more of a spiritual level, they make you want to, keep improving as a person and keep growing and learning. Because I think, if you look at their sort of reality and, this sort of time, it's living in a time of information. Everything's accessible, and so their knowledge is it's just growing at a rapid rate. You and I come from generations where we didn't have all this knowledge at our fingertips, so it wasn't so much pressure probably as parents to stay on top of everything as you education grows so quickly.
Yeah, that's right. I often think back to my time as a kid and think, oh, gee, it was a highlight for me to be able to go into the library and then see all those books there and go and fossick around for various information. And these days it's in everyone's pocket.
Yes.
I heard somebody say, because you mentioned getting cheeky, I heard a quote, and I don't know who to attribute this to, but I thought that was quite funny. It was a time when my kids were teenagers, and it was, the first half of your life you spend with your parents telling you you're wrong, and then the second half of your life is spent with your kids telling you you're wrong.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Parenting's a whole new jungle, but you've got to be, if you're a bit emotionally intelligent, you can spend that first half doing it in a way that is going to benefit you in the second half. Totally with you.
Yep. Absolutely. And And one of the things you mentioned, of course, is the freedom in your own business. And that freedom, of course, is really important if you value family and value time with your kids. So that's a good way to, I guess, get into this whole idea of no fluff business and no fluff marketing. So tell me a little bit more about what do you understand by that? What does that mean, and how does that play into this idea that we have, as entrepreneurs, we have that freedom rather than a job that we've created for ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we either leave a job or we're born into the entrepreneurial world, is because, like I said, we want to live life on our own terms. But along that journey, we've got a massive responsibility to learn, educate ourselves, and to implement the knowledge that we gain. And I think with the no fluff marketing concept, it's really interesting. I mean, I just coined it out of frustration and annoyance, to be honest with you. There's so much noise, so much fluff online, and, obviously think of social media channels. There's, so many marketers spinning a yarn and, promising everything under the sun, delivering very little. And I've been victim of, some of these marketers in the past as well, because you are, when you start out that first 3 years, you're vulnerable. You're trusting people. They look genuine, they sound genuine, so why wouldn't they deliver a genuine product? But often, what is printed on the tin isn't delivered. So I think I kind of wanted to go back to this sort of real heart-centered approach, because I think when you think about no fluff marketing, I kind of think about intent-based marketing. Are you coming from a viewpoint of just wanting to sell to people and improve your bottom line? Or are you coming from a viewpoint of genuinely giving a SHIT, hope you don't mind me swearing on the odd occasion today, Jürgen, giving it, about people and actually doing what you said you were going to do, but actually in the business to genuinely help them get to that next step, whatever that is for that business owner. So I think the no fluff marketing kind of encapsulates that whole, heart-centered approach. And going back to, if we look at kind of the audience and the marketplace right now, we're seeing a lot of magnetism, towards, I'd say, micro influencers, people that are connecting with their audience in an intimate, selfless, vulnerable way. And we're seeing, on the other hand, more kind of, repelling away, people coming away from, the glitz, the glamour, the shiny objects, and the guru type, like the influencers that, they're there just to sell you their products and courses and everything else because they're a big brand. And, that's what should happen. So no fluff marketing is really, it's a community that's set up on Facebook. It's got 1,500 entrepreneurs, business owners in there. I actually just did a live just before our podcast interview today. And it's really a community for people to network and just speak in open terms, be transparent about their business, what's going on, but also obviously to provide value and support others. So that's, how business should be. It's a small business world, but I like to see it as a small business family. We should be looking after one another first and foremost. And, small businesses are the backbone of most economies across the world. So, we've got to be looking out for one another and genuinely there to help each other.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to love in that. I mean, it's certainly very close to my philosophy around marketing. The other thing that you said at the end there, I think, is really important, and that's having that abundance mindset of let's help one another. Yes, we might be in the same game. We might be trying to work with the same clients, but if we actually help one another, it works to everyone's benefit, as opposed to, oh, you're my competition, so I'm going to play my cards close to my chest, and of course you will react the same way, respond to that. One of the things I always find frustrating is this, you talked about marketing just to sell, and the idea that your job in marketing is done when you've made the sale and you say, okay, I've made the sale, ticket's all finished, and nothing else I need to do now. And that I think it comes back from the big corporate world where normally it would mean, okay, the marketing department then transfers responsibility to somebody else for that customer. So it might be a customer service department that then looks after that customer. But in small business, that's not over. I mean, the relationship is now different because there's been a sale made, and the responsibilities on the person providing the product or service is now different because there's been a sale made. So to me, that I think the marketing is really an ongoing journey that, at that point, there's just a different stage of the journey. Now you've got to deliver the outcome. Yes. And I like to say, it's got to be an exceptional outcome. Yes. And if it's an exceptional outcome and you blow your client away with that exceptional outcome, guess what? They're going to be talking about you. So that's marketing. Right. Somebody else doing your marketing for you.
Exactly.
And they're going to be referring people to you for that product or service.
Right.
And I still can't understand how few people understand that, what I think is such a simple concept.
It's interesting, isn't it, that people still haven't got their heads around that. I know there are a lot that have, and there's a massive surging trend towards, heart-centered entrepreneurs. But what always I find interesting is people say, well, clients, are the lifeblood of your business. Well, that's only partially true, actually. Your client lifetime value is the lifeblood of your business. Okay, so what does that entail? Well, that means that you're serving that client, and that is your value proposition as a business owner is you can serve that client for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, more than a big brand or cold corporation, with very few intimate touch points is going to be able to achieve. So that is your value proposition as a business owner. You can create more creating words this morning, more lifetime client value quickly than a big brand can. So what we're seeing is this shift from traditional sales funnels, which, like you mentioned, Jürgen, it's more kind of like transactional based. It's more, well, we just see them as this part, and then we pass them on to someone else to look after that customer, another department. We're seeing a real transition from funnels to flywheels. And the difference there is, instead of thinking of a prospect coming through a funnel and dropping down at the bottom and then they drop out, and that's a transaction, that's one customer, and we have to do that many times. Now we're looking at flywheels where actually forget the customer being at the bottom of the funnel and the last point of interest. Now we're thinking of putting the customer actually in the center of the wheel. So you put the customer at the center of what makes them the power broker in your business. And then around the outside of that wheel there, or the center where your client is, then you have your layers of support and your services and your community. And that's what we're seeing in the business landscape right now, is that massive shift. And the one thing I will say standing here right now is that if small businesses are not grasping this, they need to really look at their sales process and start moving towards this whole, create the customer, make the customer the center of your business, and build around that, build the community side of things around it. Because like I said, going back to sites, client lifetime value, that's the lifeblood of your business right now. You and I both know it takes 7 times as much marketing spend to generate a new customer than it does to keep an existing one. So, that's a lovely statistic, and I've spouted that stat for 10 years. But the difference now is it's so important because it's going to be harder and harder and harder to generate these clients because, yes, there's so much competition, but also, like I said, there's got this rise of micro-influencers, and it's going to make it harder. So you've got to really look after the ones that come through now.
Yes, a really important message there. And I love the idea of the flywheel. I've used the term flywheel occasionally because particularly around our podcast, we've used our marketing circle. I call it a blueprint, but it's actually a circle that actually is drawn like a flywheel.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me that because I was mentioning to you before we started recording that I probably get about 10 or 12 requests each week now to be on the podcast, whereas in the early days, of course, I was very active in inviting people on. Now I still invite people on, but the majority of people come on through requests that they place with me, and we've, because of the marketing of the podcast we're doing and because of the word of mouth of listeners and guests. And I said it's like a flywheel because it's almost, you can't stop it. It's just, while we're doing the podcast, we just get these requests coming each week. And if you can get your marketing working like that as well, but you need to take care of those businesses or those customers that are the center of that flywheel and actually drive the flywheel, drive the motion.
Yeah, that's interesting that you're using that approach and you reach out for podcasts as well and seeing that kind of, that model in effect. That's interesting in itself, because it's not just going to apply to sales, is it? It's going to apply to different areas of business. It's so interesting. If you look at the shifts that have taken place, I'd say 5 years is probably about right. If you look at the last 5 years, we think of leads, the conversations are the new leads. If you think about building communities, they're the new personal brands. And if you think about your customers now, they're not just transactions, they're relational. So they are the new power broker. Think of them as the Luke Skywalker. We're the Yodas, we're the facilitators, it's our job to make them the star in the business. And that's what we're there to do, is make them a success story, and that's how we're going to naturally attract more. And like you said, create those more brand ambassadors, brand advocates. They become those referral evangelists for our business. That's what we need. If we don't have that, then for small businesses, it's going to be a real struggle from here on. Because one thing about COVID, it's changing people's habits. It's making people a lot choosier in terms of who to work with, who they want to connect with. It's making people reflect. People are going through a lot of spiritual transformations right now, but on that level, it's making people question things that they might not have questioned before. And especially like in business, it's like, well, okay, they might have, they might be an Amazon #1 bestseller, but how do they actually work with customers? What do their customers actually say about them? Is it just is it a transactional? Is it a relational type approach that this company has? So they want to know how intimate they are with their customers. They want to know if they genuinely give an SHIT. So there is a big shift, isn't there? I mean,
there is, yeah. And I think the other thing that's playing into that too is the idea that because of COVID and because of the lockdowns and travel restrictions that have been imposed over the last 12 months or more to try to control the pandemic, people have moved online where they perhaps before haven't embraced so much the online space in terms of communicating with people all around the world like we are now. And as a result, they've learned, hey, we can actually use this as a business tool. So it means that if I need a service, then I'm not restricted to my local community. I can go out and look around what's the best for me. And the relationship thing is a really important part of that. And the people I'm seeing that are really embracing this and all of a sudden their business, despite COVID and despite the economic impacts that COVID's brought, they're thriving because they've gotten out into this new environment and started to build those relationships.
Yeah. It's and you see it in multiple niches as well, right? It's not just in the ones you'd expect. Just don't have to be related. B2B can be B2C. I prefer to call it H to H, human to human.
Human to human. Yeah.
Let's just focus on human beings. Let's not label
that's
anything.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite response. If somebody says, "Are you a B2C or B2B business?" I say, we're human to human.
Yeah, well, I guess obviously with this shift in these communities and, building tribes, if you want to call them tribe, I personally don't actually like the word tribe, but building an authentic community full of like-minded type business owners, humans that are there to, genuinely help support one another. I think if we look at the membership model and the subscription model right now, it's very interesting because often it will be a hook or some content or a video or some value that way that will pull people into a membership. But what will actually keep them there, especially paying members, is the actual value of the network itself and the people inside that network. That has a much greater pain of disconnection than any content that you can come up with. The best piece of content that you can come up with and share through video, podcast, webinar, whatever it is, it cannot match the value of the people inside your community. So that's a real big consideration because we're talking about, this shift to community-based type businesses. And obviously with that, what drops out is the rise of subscriptions and memberships. And the subscription economy right now is absolutely going off. And we have to be embracing it because if you look at our prospects, our customers, they're embracing it every single day, day in, week out. They're paying for subscriptions, whether it's electricity at home, whether it's online shopping, whether it's Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, software, it doesn't matter. They're conditioned to pay monthly subscriptions. Even rent is a subscription if you want to kind of put it in a broad sense. So we have to be mindful of, our consumers' behaviors and their purchasing habits online. And I'm really banging the drum at the moment about subscriptions and helping small businesses jump on the subscription wagon because, they're so versatile. And, you can use them to leverage your business, but you can also use them to build your business kind of at the bottom of the pyramid, if you like, to actually build your community out with more of a lower ticket type membership. So, yeah, it's a big wave in e-learning and subscription trends coming here.
Yeah. Well, that's, I agree with you. And it's been a while where people have been talking about it, but I think it's the pandemic's really given it a bit of a boost and it's gaining traction now. I did want to get on to the idea of, building membership businesses and that subscription model. What's your take on, because I think there's a lot of emails that I get, for example, where I'm invited into a community or into a membership and a lot of them I'm ho-hum. And right. I'm not really, it doesn't really grab me. And I guess I don't see the value in it. Maybe it's not presented really well. What do you see as a good way to go about building that community where, you really do add value?
Yeah, that's a great question. Fantastic question, actually, because it also happens to be one of the biggest oversights that, businesses make when they're looking at setting up a membership type business or model. And that is the belief that they know better than their audience. So they're the expert. They create the membership subscription. They have the content and resources, and then they go out to their audience and they're utterly shocked when no one wants to join. Because the reason is they've bypassed that all important first step, which is actually to survey your audience and to ask your audience whether your idea is viable or not, whether they'd actually pay to be part of that type of membership subscription model or that type of community, and how much they'd be willing to pay. Get a ballpark figure, because so many people miss this step out, and it's so important because when you send a survey out to your audience, and when I say audience, this can be prospects, can be cold prospect, but I'm talking more about people that in your paying audience, like your existing or past customers. They are absolutely ideal for this. So, and everyone's got a database there if you've been in business for 3 years or more, so you've got a database sitting there to go and survey, but you empower them. As soon as you send out a survey, you empower them because you make them part of your marketing, your rebranding, or, your next step in business. And that, I have to say, customers love that. They love being part of you. They love you opening the curtain and inviting them in and, being part of your actual business journey and growth. So, but the other advantage is when you send out the survey and when you get the feedback, you'll either know if it's viable or not, of course, but hopefully it is viable. And hopefully you've had plenty of responses where people gone, yeah, I would pay X amount per month to have that convenience, that service or product, And then you've also got people that you can go back to and go, okay, well, that's awesome. I've, had an overwhelming positive response here. So we're going to set this membership model up. I'd love you to be a charter member, Jürgen. I'd love you to pilot this with us, be part of the journey. And in order to do that, we'd love you to be in at 50% off and just be one of our original founding, members. How would that work for you? Would you like to be part of this? We're going to make this, give people your vision. And we'd love you to be one of the founding members. That's empowering. That people love that stuff. They love being part of it. If you're giving them a deal and discount, they're the first and it's all exciting. We've just done that with Course Commander here with software. We ran a beta program for a good few months, and I say beta pilot program, prefer to call it. And, same thing again, just give people a big annual subscription discount to be the founding members. And with that, they got a load of lifetime access software on top of what other people are going to get. But there's always ways to incentivize people. But don't underestimate the value of being the first because customers love that. They love being the first in the door.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great advice. I think that's a really fabulous strategy. I mean, there's two aspects to that. The first one is listening to your customers and then getting them involved in, because if you then build what they've said they want, guess what? They're going to buy in. even without the discount, they're likely to buy in. Hey, you've done what I need. This is exactly what I said I needed. So I'm in. The other part of that, of course, is the giving them some reward then as a preferred customer on an ongoing basis. And we talked earlier about lifetime value. I'm a user of quite a number of bits of software that have done exactly that model. And this is going back, some of it goes back 5 years or so. And every now and then, for those ones that I've been in for a long time, there's an alternative that comes up that's something new, and I might explore that. And for me, there's always a huge barrier to move away from that particular software because I kind of feel invested in it. There's that loyalty thing, so it's actually a lifetime value. And even though I'm paying half of what their current customers or their regular customers are, I'm probably more valuable to them as a customer because they've looked at it from a lifetime customer value point of view, and my loyalty is almost certainly much higher than new customers coming in.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, you're part of something original, which has, some other potential advantages for, you and I, the business owner as well, because when you have these founding type customers, members, students, whatever you want to call them, whatever the membership model is, then I see it time and time again that they then become coaches in that business or some type of other level of support, for other members coming on board. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be pay. Sometimes it's just kind of like, you barter with those members and, they provide admin support. They provide social media support, their voices in your community. And they're the not the heckler in the crowd, but, the voice in the crowd that gets the conversation going, So
the cheer squad leader.
Yeah, the cheer squad leader, exactly that one.
Yeah.
That is really important, especially when you're building out your community and online, whether it's through a Facebook group, whether it's through your own platform, your own membership software. Having a community, real-time communication, having discussions. Talked about leads being conversations. Conversations are the new leads today's business landscape. So we've got to be saying, how do we nurture those conversations? How do we have more of them? And, an online community group situation is probably the lowest hanging fruit there, especially if we're bringing in, lower ticket type clients, customers into that sort of situation that may be paying $7 to $27, say, for example, a month, then you've created a lower paying customer that you wouldn't have had previously that wouldn't pay, say, $5,000 for your high-end service or for a project-based type work. So there's a lot more leverage by broadening out the bottom of the pyramid and allowing other customers to come up and, really, I'd say indoctrinated, but being indoctrinated to the way that you work and the way you help other businesses higher up the ladder.
Yeah. Well, that's basically a low for the new client, a low cost way to experience how you work. And if they don't like that, then there's nothing much lost. If they do like it, of course, then they can explore what else there is that you can do for them.
Yes, exactly. And I think when you look at memberships, I think a lot of people go, memberships, that's good for them, but it's not good for me. Well, look, we've worked with a diverse range of businesses that have offered memberships, and they've never thought it was possible to actually run a subscription-based model for their clients. And I'll give you an example here in Auckland. Over the past 18 months, we've worked with a dental high-ticket sort of dental practice. But, we've helped them pivot slightly because of COVID, yeah, for sure. But they were looking at this anyway. And we worked with them to create like a VIP patient club. And all that is just discounts on their higher ticket treatments. I call it higher ticket, but, they're higher value surgery, operation treatments, whatever you want to call it, but also offering some value in terms of providing content, providing guides, providing some videos every now and then on, what products to use for their teeth, how to preserve the whiteness in their teeth, and playing on people's ego as much as they can as well, because that's, let's face it, why do we go to the dentist? Most of us dread going to the dentist, don't we? It's like, it's going to be painful and it's going to be expensive. So usually, if you can help your patients kind of prevent them from having to have those big, operate and give them actual some tips, ideas, insights into how to preserve their teeth, more regularly and, obviously take the cost of and the bigger kind of treatments down, then that's going to appeal to people, because you're saving them pain, you're saving them time, but you also offer some discounts on products as well, and building a bit of a community around it. So same thing with a wealth management company. We've worked with them. They've got some software. They've got some self-evaluation software that they've got in their membership model that they provide to lower ticket type clients. They've got resources, PDF resources. I think the marketing manager there now is doing a live video once a month or something like that. Could be once every other 2 weeks. I'm not sure. But the point is, it doesn't take a lot of time and energy to shift to a membership model, given the resources that you probably have at your disposal right now anyway. So a lot of businesses, that is a real low-hanging leverage point. The hardest part, as you and I both know, is actually just putting it together and getting the software and promoting it.
Yeah.
That process. But, that's, if you can fast track that process, then, actually delivering the membership and the services, the products and the advice, that side of things is actually quite easy.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun too.
And fun.
So,
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Well, tell us some more about Course Commander then, because obviously you've put together this system that does all those things from the technical standpoint.
Yeah, well, Course Commander, again, a bit like the no fluff term, born out of frustration, born out of being a user that's like, oh, there must be a better way. And Course Commander, we launched that nearly 8 months ago now. And it's a modern, flexible, all-in-one website, landing page, and course builder solution. It's perfect for your coaches, your consultants, your authors, but actually any service-based business that's looking to pivot to a membership type model right now. And, we worked out when we started that because we're pulling all this software together and putting it together in one convenient place for users, we worked out that we're saving people about $900 a month. And when you add it all up, it's quite expensive. Your landing page builders, your membership software, you've got your affiliate systems, you've got marketing tools in there like heat maps, live chat, and stuff that you'd normally go and pay for. And then there's a whole heap of other features that I won't bore people with right now, but it's safe to say that it's just going to save people a lot of time, energy, and like I call it, tech aches in actually being able to build, launch, and deliver a membership solution. I say membership, membership solution can be a program, can be a club, it can be a resource center for your existing customers and clients. It doesn't have to be complex. It's just some form of recurring revenue that provides, and I kind of think of it like a membership, because I did telesales for a membership, hotel chain for 3 weeks when I first launched one of our first companies over here in New Zealand. And after 6 months, I was like, oh, this business thing is quite difficult. And I had to get a job for 3 weeks. It's the only time I've ever actually had to get a job. And it just happened to be selling hotel memberships over the phone, which I absolutely loathed, but I was very good at it. So I had this dilemma. So I thought, well, what can I learn from this? And interestingly, you look at kind of like Accor Plus, if you know that type of hotel chain that has your Sofotels, Novotels, and all those hotels inside the chain. That they sell annual memberships for about $400. I was thinking, well, how are they getting people to buy these? What's the hook? Like, because it's just people ringing you during the day and either renewing you or getting you to, pay for this $400 membership. I was thinking, okay, what are they doing? And the hook is they give you a free night away. And that's what makes people go, oh, okay. So then they start creating these visuals. And where would you like to go if you could have a free night away? So saying, that's clever. So that's the hook. So how does this apply to your business? Well, think about the hook. How can you create an experiential type solution for your existing customers? And, in a networking type way, if possible, and that's always going to be better. But, it doesn't take much. It could be a meetup. It could be a live. It could be, a masterclass once a month. But obviously what we want to have is all your other clients on there. We want to be able to hot seat them and, network with them and, actually provide value to to other businesses so they can meet and greet. So people learn a lot more by having you hot seat other businesses. They learn a lot more about their business when others are being educated in this type of sort of space. So, having a hook, having discounts, having resources, all you're doing with a membership is you're kind of creating a real convenient solution. And by having the actual people in the network, like I said previously, you're creating more pain of disconnection for people going, okay, well, yeah, that's justified. Because if you just run a course, for example, or a program, and you're just providing content every month, and let's say I charge you, Jürgen, $297 a month to have access to, this premium content, and every month I'll add a new video or a new resource or tool. Well, that's great, but it's not going to keep people because they're going to go after 5 months. Okay, well, all right, well, I've already spent $1,500. I've got some really good content, but I'm a little bit, okay, I know what this is about now. I'm a little bit kind of not bored, but I can kind of do it myself. I know what to expect. And people know what to expect. They tend to drift. So by having that actual in-person type networking solution, and every month this group of cool business owners get together and they mastermind and they're networking, and you're doing a hot seat and you're getting other people's perspectives, and you're effectively showcasing your business to others and thriving off their feedback. That in itself is invaluable. There isn't a price on that. That's where the pain of disconnection is.
Yeah. And there's so much to love about that. And I know that, this is a model that I'm actually really familiar with from my business coach. She used to run breakfasts that very much ran along those lines. And essentially it was a membership model. But what I really love about it is it comes back to what we were talking about earlier in the marketing. It's the human approach, isn't it? The human connection. So it's the having access to other people, having the ability to interact in a way that supports one another, that where the real value lies.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you set up a membership, it's really looking at two factors, two KPIs, if you like, and that's engagement and retention. And, if both of those are low, then forget it. There's no point setting up a membership, because you're just going to be like any kind of one-to-one model. You're just constantly going to be banging the drum and trying to get, burning and churning and trying to get new customers, new members through all the time. And it's going to be a lot of hard work. So if you focus on, the engagement and the automation side, the automation and the engagement side of things, really kind of is what's going to drive your membership forward. The engagement, obviously, that's we've spoken about, having other people in there, having other like-minded businesses, networks, and so forth. But the automation side of thing, that's like if you haven't logged in for 4 weeks, are we just going to forget about you and bill you, for your next month? Or what about when you haven't logged in for, say, 7 days, you automatically get pinged an email that says, hey, Jürgen, noticed you haven't been inside and seen this week's or this month's, latest training. Just wonder if there's anything we can do to help, or, if you need to jump on a call at some stage, let us know. Here's a link or whatever, however, whatever works for your strategy, your model. But as a user, I'm going to go, wow, I haven't logged in for 7 and I've got this email. Because I think one of the biggest misconceptions with membership models is like, that's really nice. Passive revenue, great. Let's just get a load of customers in and just leave them, pay me, and I can go and sit on the beach and sip pina coladas. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way, as you and I know. But so the more you treat them like actually they're paying you, for a higher level type service, the easier it's going to be to keep them. The beauty of it is there's software out there like Course Commander that can do all that heavy lifting and automation and email side of things for you. So we've kind of built it from a marketer's perspective and said, it delivers courses and programs and membership subscriptions, great, but now what? So we've got all the the user engagement automation there.
Yeah, well, I mean, you touched on a couple of favorites of mine there. The passive income thing. There's no such thing. I think that's a BS term. It's there is, there is the recurring income, which we've been talking about, but the recurring income requires recurring value, and I think what we've been focused on today is recurring interactions, recurring access to real people that add value, and the real relationships that add value. So there's that. Now, you can structure it in a way, of course, that you can take a week or two off and sip pina coladas on the beach, and the membership still goes on, and the people in that community still get value from it. So I think that's the model to perhaps aspire to. And the automation part is the other bit you touched on there. For me, there's so much fabulous automation around where you can do wonderful things like your example of after 7 days, reach out. And that's kind of an accountability thing. It's a human connection thing, because you're saying, hey, do you need help with something? Get in touch and know, or is it just a case that, you've parked it for now, and which is perfectly fine too.
Yeah.
But what I see today, and particularly in the marketing area with all this marketing automation, is people are kind of abdicating to that and forgetting about the human interaction. And then in part, that's perhaps this idea of passive income again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, it's important. Don't get me right. It's to find that balance between automation and human interaction, because you don't want to be giving all your time and energy into a membership that you're only charging $47 for a month, because that's not why you set up a membership. You set it up to leverage, your higher ticket services and core products, whatever they are. So it is finding that balance. But what I will say around the passive revenue thing is that I think that term has been coined by some charlatans out there that basically, create these lousy memberships with, content, and they prey on customers that will pay them every month, and there's always a small percentage of customers that will do that. I know it's crazy, but they will. They'll pay for sub-average content and products, for a period of time, and then you'll get these voices come out and go, "Hey, look at that! That's passive revenue." We're not looking after them, but they're paying us every month, and that's kind of how I see passive revenue. The real derogatory term in the industry that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to find a balance, and I think you have to have the human interaction, but not at the cost of losing out on higher other services.
Yeah, that's really important. And my view there is, use automation to free your time so that you can focus your valuable time on those human interactions, building those relationships, growing the community.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. And that's what it all comes down to, is that community word. That's what you're doing. You're starting a membership model to leverage your community of your clients, your prospects, because if you've got a community of people that, mix between your existing past clients as well as warm, hot prospects, it's pretty easy to convert those prospects, when you've got people that are paying for stuff in there as well. So, it's easier to convert higher up the ladder, those prospects, if you like, for your higher ticket services, when they're listening to, existing and past customers talk about you in a positive way, or having a conversation about your services or whatever it is, because, curiosity is what, creates customers a lot of the time, and hearing good things, only accentuates that. So community all the way. Yeah.
And also that, with those human connections and communications that we've been talking about, it's an opportunity for people to get to know you as a business person, as a business owner, a lot better. And as we all know, we do business with people we know, like, and trust. So that the knowing and liking part happens within that community at a fairly low risk, in a fairly low risk environment. And that really just leads on to bigger and better things much more easily than going out and marketing to a cold audience who don't know you, can't possibly like you because they don't know you yet, and can't trust you because they don't know you yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about leverage, isn't it? And you think about, time being our most important non-renewable, source of energy, whatever. We're leveraging a lot of things together here. We're leveraging, our marketing efforts. We're leveraging being able to communicate to people in a live setting and building our brand and intimacy with our audience. We're bringing other people in there, so we're leveraging our whole referral network. Like I said, brand authority, but we're also, showing people who we are as a person, authenticity, and which is so important right now. And we're rising up as a leader in our space, our niche or field, whatever that is. So yeah, I can't see any downsides at the moment to sort of creating community and membership. And I really do feel, we're at a real tipping point right now, Jürgen, where businesses just have to embrace this.
All right. Well, fantastic. I could go on talking membership, and we haven't even gotten into the software part yet, but I think we'll leave that for today. It's a good point, I think, now, though, to move on to the Buzz, which is our innovation round, and it's designed to help our audience who are primarily innovators and leaders in their field with some tips from your experience. So I've got 5 questions. Hopefully you'll give us some really insightful answers that'll inspire the listener to go and do something awesome as a result.
I'll do my best, brother.
So what's the number one thing you think anyone needs to do to be more innovative?
Take time out of their business and actually structure that into their calendar. You have to have time away from your day-to-day surroundings, environment, office space, whatever that is for you. You have to be scheduling in time away, and I have to say time away from family as well in that regard. It's no good, okay, but that's family time. You need to find your creative time as well. I actually block out creative hours in my calendar right now. Sometimes I get my most creativity just going for a run in the morning, just that sort of release of oxygen to the brain, If you're a runner, you'll understand what I'm saying. You just get all these ideas, and, a run will sometimes tell you what you need to do. But
yeah, it happens to me when I go out cycling, if I'm on my own, particularly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's, movement is really important. So, but if it's just going for a walk, you've got a lake or, a nice, I don't know, museum next to you or something that's just different to your normal scenario, then definitely go and embrace that and have actually schedule an hour out. Don't put pressure on yourself to be creative. Just let those creativity juices naturally come to you and flow, because that's, I think, one of the reasons why a lot of people struggle with innovation, because they try to innovate, and innovation comes to us naturally as when we're not trying. So yeah, those schedule blocks.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So I know what you mean about the running part. So I go out cycling pretty well every day, and with the pandemic and the restrictions on the number of people getting together, we haven't had our group together as regularly, and so I've been out on my own quite a lot, and that's where if I'm out on my own cycling, that's where I just get flooded with ideas.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great time. So you're exercising, but also your right brain goes into overdrive pretty much, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah. All right. So, well, you've kind of answered this. What's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas?
Well, I'm all about leverage, so I've done 2 in 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Runs in the morning. And just my best ideas come to me when I'm not thinking about them, and just a lot. Or the other approach I have tried is just asking the question before I go to sleep at night, because I'm a big believer in using our subconscious mind that way. And it may not be the next day you get that answer, by the way. You may need to ask that question a couple of nights, 3 nights running, but just keep asking it before you go to sleep, because I do believe the brain is, it's this real internal organ that processes information at the right time for us based on our situation, and the answer will come. So I do that quite a lot as well.
Yeah, it really is fascinating, the brain, isn't it? I had an experience the other day. I've started a little project, a personal project of scanning in slides. I've got thousands of slides going back to when I was a 10-year-old from my childhood, and I thought I bought a scanner for Christmas, and I thought I'm going to start scanning in these slides, and I need to put some structure to this project. So I thought, well, I'll set it up as themes. I'll work out themes, themes when I've traveled somewhere, I've got photographs of that trip, or when there's been some event or so on. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start looking back through these slides and sort them a little bit and put them into these themes. And I was looking at some old slides, and it triggered some memories that, I hadn't thought about people for ages. And all of a sudden, this person came to mind that I'd met 45 years ago.
Wow.
Once.
Yeah.
I met them once. And not only did they come to mind, I could picture them in front of me, and I hadn't seen any photographs of them yet. And when I got to the photographs, I thought, wow, that's exactly the picture that came to mind. And I'd seen this person once and 45 years ago, and then I started thinking, oh, what's that person's name? So I still can't remember their name, but it will come to me.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's the power of the subconscious. It's that memory is parked there somewhere. It's been totally irrelevant, but it was triggered by just seeing a photograph that related to that event.
Ah, crazy. It literally is like a library of images and files, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mind. That's fun. And a Google.
I love the idea.
A Google as well, actually.
That's right, yeah.
But, it's a DuckDuckGo search engine if you want it to be as well.
Yeah. So, I love the idea of asking the question before you go to sleep. Oh. All right. Now, what's a favorite resource you use most often?
Favorite resource, would that be technology-based?
It could be technology-based, or it could be people. It could be apps that you use.
I have to say video at the moment, because that's a lot of what I'm doing. Talk about technology. I use ScreenFlow a lot for screen videos, but also for actually editing any type of content videos or case study videos that I'm having uploaded to YouTube. And that's a big one. Just, what we're doing right now, we're on your platform, but I'm either on StreamYard, Zoom, ScreenFlow, or I'm actually using teleprompters on my mobile phone to shoot videos, to shoot quick videos as well. Like, when you want to just get a real value-packed 1 to 2 minute video out there. And, I sometimes use teleprompters just to kind of take the ums and the ahs and the thought processes out and just go start to finish. And but it's all video-based technology, I would say, at the moment, and which I feel is a good thing, because I think, we have to be embracing that as much as possible as well. So,
I agree with you. I'm doing a lot more video as well, and it comes back into this human connection element for me, because you can see the person, you can get a sense of their personality. So there's, there's a lot more information that comes across other than just the content that's being presented.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that's, if I look back, it's kind of like grown on this kind of linear sort of trajectory as well, because it was like, I'll do a little bit of video this week. I'll do a little bit more video, this month. And now it's like, do video all the time. And I think, but just the reason I'm putting that in there is because I think there's a lot of small businesses procrastinate. And certainly a lot of clients that we've worked with, they go, oh, I'll do a little bit maybe here, and I'm not great at video, but no one's great at video. No one likes looking at themselves. Yeah. No one likes the sound of their own voice that I've spoken to. And I don't even like the sound of my own voice. And I don't really like watching my interviews back, to be quite honest with you, but I embrace video, so I do a lot of video, and I think we have to be doing that.
Okay, great. Now, what's the best way to keep a client on track?
Client on track in terms of achieving said time frame?
Yeah, when we've made the sale to the client and we say, okay, here's the result you're going to get from this product or service you've got. So how do you keep them on track?
Yeah, well, it comes back to what we were saying about the user check-ins, these client check-ins. First of all, I think it's really important to have we use the word community, but if you're not kind of keen on the idea of community of bringing, opening up to your wider audience, then certainly have a community just for your paid clients. That's really important, so that you've got that, because it's a form of accountability for that client as well, especially if you're asking them, well, at the end of this week, we want you to just post up, your initial kind of work or draft or whatever, so that we can give you feedback. Or, that's one approach, but it could just be, go and introduce yourself in the group, talk about what you're doing and everything else to our other clients. And having that kind of those different touch points through email, through a group. I use SMS as well with clients. I know there's some businesses that don't want to do that, but I actually I kind of feel that the more touch points that you've got with a client, the more that you're in their mind as well. And I've never come across a client that's gone, "Oh, will you stop texting me? I don't like these texts. You're a pest. Go away." They might think it on the odd occasion, but I've never had someone say that. They actually generally find it valuable that you've reminded them, and so yeah, it's a mixture of media platforms, but the key thing here is to have touch points and be consistent with those touch points.
Yeah, I love it. So communication is really important, but as you say, the touch points, and we talked earlier about a journey, having that this is an ongoing journey. It's not just to the sale. That's not the end point. So this is still part of the journey, right? Having those touch points and signposts, if you like, along the way.
Yeah, and when you start thinking in client lifetime value rather than just one-off transactions, then you kind of like, well, okay, well, this client, I want to have this client working with us in some capacity for the next 5 years. What's that going to look like? What's going to keep them happy in that 5 years? How am I going to achieve that? So that will give you the answers you need when you kind of flip it that way.
All right, great. Yeah. And what's the number one thing anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
Be authentic, be unique, and embrace live technology. Because right now it's the power of live, and it's and when I say live, I don't mean you have to go out and broadcast to everyone, but broadcast to your audience. Be vulnerable, be an educator, be an expert, have those live touch points with your audience, and yeah, that's the way to stand out. And be human. You're leading by example. You're a human leader first and foremost, then a business educator secondary.
Love it, yeah. And I love, the live technology, and you mentioned that, and people might think, oh, that's Facebook Live. I don't like Facebook Live, or whatever that might be. Well, that's just one example, because if you go on Zoom and do a webinar, that's live. If you do any webinar software, if you present a webinar and have audience ask you questions, or if you get out into post-COVID into a big audience on stage and present your information, and then have an interaction where people ask questions and you have conversation around that, that's live. So yes, embracing it in all forms.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be impromptu live. It could be scheduled lives, and so you give people some lead up, and and make a bit of a song and dance about it, and increase the perceived value of that live as well to their business. So I often think, when you do 3-hour lives impromptu, you've just wasted 3 hours of time in a way, because the one thing that gets people to a live is the marketing. It's the power of the quality of your marketing. That's right. You create that perceived value for the quality of the live as well.
Yes, and people need to know about it beforehand, don't they? You can't just show up and rely on whoever happens to be passing by, or seeing the little pop-up saying Jonathan's going live.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine to just do some short lives, but I'm just talking about if you're going to do a real high quality type piece of content, and it's structured, and it's an hour or 2 hour long or whatever, then, really play on the promotional side of it, because if you're having a Q&A with it, then that's a big advantage. So you want to really promote that people can connect and ask questions.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, Jonathan. This has been really fabulous. Now, where can people find out more about you and find out about Course Commander, and maybe even get in touch to say thanks for what you've shared today?
Yeah, sure. Is that all those 5 questions gone as quickly?
Yep, we've done them.
All right. Well, I mean, the easiest way to connect at the moment is through the No Fluff Marketing community on Facebook. It's called No Fluff Marketing for Awakened Entrepreneurs. That may change at some point to coaches and consultants, because we seem to be adding a lot of coaches and consultants in there, but we'll see. And that's just go in there. There's a lot of free, valuable content from myself, but also from other people in there, like yourself as well. You're in there, and there's just It's about being, like I say, a community. So if they want to reach out that way, but also if they want to connect with me, they're welcome to do so on LinkedIn as well. And I'm present on LinkedIn, not so much Instagram. Usually have someone else managing that for me, but certainly on LinkedIn, it's a great place to message and send audio notes and to and fro. So yeah, feel free to reach out. If you go and check out the Course Commander software, that's open to everyone. There's a 2-week test drive there of the software. It's coursecommander.com. Just go there, check it out, and see if there's something there for you or something there that fits for your business. That's another way to connect.
Excellent. Well, we'll have all those links in the show notes so people can click straight through. Fantastic. Now, do you have some parting advice for our listener today?
Yeah, parting advice would be, I think, just to, when we think about fear can be really paralyzing for businesses. That sort of, the fear kind of represents itself in lots of different kind of ways. You think about imposter syndrome, that's fear-based at the end of the day. We're not good enough. That's kind of coming from a place of lack and, fearful that we'll be showing up and, we're not quite as good as our competitor down the road or whatever it is. So I would say, feel the fear. I think Richard Branson says this one anyway, so I certainly won't copyright it, but feel the fear and do it anyway. And just embrace what you know is right. So if you're in the place of building an audience and that requires then getting on live videos and connecting with your audience in a more intimate type relational way, then feel the fear of doing that and just do it anyway, because it's never as bad as what you think. And look, just call it out. If you're feeling vulnerable or feeling a little bit fearful doing it, call that out. Say it's your first time. So appreciate, tell people that, and they'll actually, be drawn to you more as a human being for showing that and just calling it out anyway. So yeah, feel the fear and do it.
Yeah, love it. And like you say, it's rarely as bad as we imagine, and sometimes I find it helps to, particularly if you're getting on stage to give a presentation or going on video, to just focus completely on the audience and what you're doing for them. Kind of the fear part is focused on yourself. So if you shift that focus, it sometimes, it doesn't make the fear go away, but it sometimes makes you not pay attention to the fear, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. Can I share one other little thing that I used to do when I first got on camera?
Absolutely, yeah.
And lives? I used to actually pin up a picture of a client on my laptop, and I used to go, don't care about your insecurities and your fears, Jonathan. You're talking to this person when you're on live. You're helping this person that's stuck to your screen right now. Just do it. And that really works. That really works, because you focus on talking to one person and it takes away all that noise, all that kind of fearful noise of everyone's watching and everyone's listening and judging and all that nonsense that goes on in the back of our head. So yeah, just focus on that one client that you love and they love what you do, and talk to that person.
Yeah, love it. That's a fantastic tip. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Now, finally, who else should I get on this podcast and why?
Well, I would say George Bryant, but you've you've had George.
Well, we might get George back again.
Yeah. There's some fantastic business minds in the no fluff marketing community, and they're heart-centered, types that would really add a lot of value to your podcast. I feel, I think, if I just come up with a name, then I'd probably say someone like Alan Stevens, or Steve Brosman, both prominent figures in the community, always offering value up front, and doing business for the right reasons.
Okay, well, we'll spend some more time in the No Fluff community, check out some of the folks there and see if we can get in touch with Alan and Steve. And we may have George back soon.
Right.
It's like, I think this is episode 400 and, what is it? Check my notes. 406. So it's over 100 episodes since George was on.
Right. Wow. Okay. That's rocking them out there. Good on you.
Yeah. Great. All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing your time and your insights so generously with us today, Jonathan. I've really enjoyed this. I've learnt a lot about your whole philosophy around how the whole no fluff marketing and business philosophy can be applied to memberships, and of course the entire idea of business being all about human relationships. That's something very close to my heart as well. So thanks for sharing all that with us. All the best for the future, and let's stay in touch.
Thanks, buddy. It's been a real pleasure to be on. Appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed that insightful and wonderfully informative conversation with Jonathan and took something away from his episode. Now, Jonathan's focus on making marketing and business human is an inspiration and, of course, totally aligned with our philosophy at InnovaBuzz. He also shared many wonderful ideas around how to add value to a membership-based subscription. I'd love to know what you took away from Jonathan's episode. Please leave a comment below the blog post, which you can find at innovabuzz.co/Jonathan Callinan. That is JONATHAN all lowercase, all one word, innovabuzz.co/Jonathan Callinan. You'll also find contact information there for getting in touch with Jonathan, as well as links to the Course Commander and Online Business Accelerator websites, his LinkedIn profile, his No Fluff Marketing Facebook group, as well as the other resources we spoke about in our conversation today. Now, if you like this episode, please do share it with 2 other people that it will help. There's so much gold in this and every episode, and you really owe it to your friends who would benefit from knowing this information to share it with them. And if you tag me in on that share, I'll reach out to you and send you a special surprise as a thank you. Jonathan suggested that we have a conversation with Steve Brossman, the author of the Authority Client Attraction System, on a future InnovaBuzz podcast episode. So, Steve, keep an eye on your inbox for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of Jonathan Callinan. Tune in again to the next episodes of the InnovaBuzz podcast. We've got yet more fantastic guests lined up, including speaker and leadership mentor Eric Rogel and Veronica Shannon of Retub. Thanks for listening to this episode. Make sure you subscribe to the show to be reminded of new episodes. It's free to subscribe. Leave a review if you like. Even if you don't like me, I'm okay with that. I'm asking you to leave a review because it helps other people find this show. Go to innovabuzz.co to join our marketing transformation community and access a free gift my team and I made for you. It's the Marketing Master Mini Class. We want to give you everything you need to transform your marketing into a human-centered, relationship-focused growth engine. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz. Remember, be awesome and keep innovating.